Hi. Chapter 2 of Schopenhauer's Counsels and Maxims is titled Our Relation to Ourselves. It's about a third of the book, and it begins with section 4. Let's take a look at the text of section 4 now. Schopenhauer writes, "The mason employed on the building of a house may be quite ignorant of its general design, or at any rate he may not keep it constantly in mind. So it is with man. In working through the days and hours of his life, he takes little thought of its character as a whole." And to me, this seems correct, right? We are not always aware, not always thinking about the overall trajectory of our life. When we're going about the day-to-day business of life, we're focused on day-to-day affairs. It's only when we're especially philosophical or reflective that we actually turn our attention to what we are and what we are becoming with a very deliberate eye. Schopenhauer continues, "If there is any merit or importance attaching to a man's career, if he lays himself out carefully for some special work, it is all the more necessary and advisable for him to turn his attention now and then to its plan, that is to say, the miniature sketch of its general outlines. Of course, to do that, he must have applied the maxim noutheseaton, that is, know thyself, the Greek proverb associated with the oracle at Delphi and with the Socratic mission of philosophy. He must have made some little progress in the art of understanding himself. He must know what is his real chief and foremost object in life, what it is that he most wants in order to be happy. And then, after that, what occupies the second and third place in his thoughts. He must find out what, on the whole, his vocation really is, the part he has to play, his general relation to the world. If he maps out important work for himself on great lines, a glance at this miniature plan of his life will, more than anything else, stimulate, rouse, and ennoble him, urge him on to action, and keep him from false paths." So Schopenhauer here seems to be saying that to have in mind a kind of miniature vision of what your future is, what we might call a mission or a plan, is going to be vital for keeping you on task, especially if you believe you have great work to do. He continues, "Again, just as the traveler, on reaching a height, gets a connected view over the road he has taken, with its many turnings and windings, so it is only when we have completed a period in our life, or approached the end of it altogether, that we recognize the true connection between all our actions, only then that we see the precise chain of cause and effect, and the exact value of all our efforts. For as long as we are actually engaged in the work of life, we always act in accordance with the nature of our character, under the influence of motive, and within the limits of our capacity, in a word, from beginning to end, under a law of necessity. At every moment we do just what appears to us right and proper. It is only afterwards, when we come to look back on the whole course of our life and its general result, that we see the why and the wherefore of it all." This is kind of fascinating because, in a sense, he's saying we should recollect that when we are making choices on a day-to-day basis, we are doing so under a fairly heavy weight of necessity of our own character. Most importantly, if I am a coward, then I will judge things as a coward judges them, and I will decide as a coward decides, within a fairly narrow range of choices, I think. So it is the gradual changes in our character that we maybe effect over the course of a lifetime, over the course of a long period of time. That's what's going to make the overall difference in our character. But we don't enjoy as much unlimited freedom as we like to think when we're sort of planning out our entire lives. These things happen by very slow degrees. And then, of course, it's only at the kind of the hinge points of our life, the end of a relationship, the change of job, the place where we see one part of our life coming to an end or the whole of our life coming to an end, that we turn back like the traveler over the road that we have traveled, and we see it as a unity. We may not be able to see it as a unity on the way because we are so focused upon the thing directly in front of us. Schopenhauer continues, When we are actually doing some great deed or creating some immortal work, we are not conscious of it as such. We think only of satisfying present aims, of fulfilling the intentions we happen to have at the time, of doing the right thing at the moment. It is only when we come to view our life as a connected whole that our character and capacities show themselves in their true light, and that we see how, in particular instances, some happy inspiration, as it were, led us to choose the only true path out of 1,000 which might have brought us to ruin. It was our genius that guided us, a force felt in the affairs of the intellect as in those of the world, and working by its defect just in the same way in regard to evil and disaster. Kind of interesting closing of this section. When we're doing a great deed, think of Michelangelo painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Right? He's not thinking of the great deed of the ceiling itself. When he's doing it, he's thinking of getting this particular arm exactly correct, or painting the next thing just right. That's what occupies his attention. It's only when we, in a sort of a philosophical mood or in a moment of reflection or at a hinge point in our life, look back upon our lives that we see the unity and the purpose of it. It's also then that we become aware of the kind of guiding spirit or genius that seemed to animate our personality, that seemed to bring us through the right choices or sometimes perhaps the wrong choices. That seems to be the kind of spiritual lesson and the moral lesson that Schopenhauer is giving us in this part. Anyway, that's the end of section 4 of Schopenhauer's Counsels and Maxims. We'll take a look at section 5 next. Thanks for watching today. Goodbye.